Good day, brothers and sisters. It's your brother Rams here, and I'm glad to be back. Welcome you back. But I want to say first and foremost, today is June 19th, 2026, and I want to first start off by saying happy Juneteenth. And that's part of Black history, of course, and I'm going to get a little bit into the origins of Juneteenth. But first and foremost, before I even get to any of that, brothers and sisters, I always like to say thank you for your support. That last podcast, I got a lot of support, a lot of feedback, and continue to do so, my brothers and sisters, is that what motivates me. And all I ask my brothers and sisters is that when they hear this, pass this message on to others. Tell them there's a brother on YouTube called Brother Rams podcast. They can once they got YouTube, they get a chance to look me up, read. Hear some of the things I say, and then they can decide whether they want to subscribe to my podcast. But I want everyone to pass the word on because that's more important. That's important to me to pass this word on so we can get knowledge, so we can learn how to be able to deal with one another in the 21st century. So I just want to say thank you so much, and I'm thankful and humbled and honored by your watching my podcast. But right now, like I said, happy Juneteenth, and I'm going to get into the history of that. But right now, first, before even that, I'm going to talk a little bit about Father's Day. And Father's Day is a celebration that, America kind of downplays about the role of a father, even though he's very important in the family. So I just want to say happy Father's Day to all the fathers, not the sperm donors, because that's something different. That's just making a baby. Making a baby does not make you a father. You know, a male elephant can make a baby, but the question then becomes, can he take care of his child? And that's what I ask the fathers to do, to recognize the fathers of what they've done. True fathers, not the sperm donors, not them. I'm talking about the fathers who gave it up, worked hard for their children to make sure their children were safe, got a good education, uh, provided financial support. Some of them fathers think they're being a good father because they bring a pair of sneakers around here and there and a few little outfits, and they think they're being a good father. Not really. Father's a full-time thing, just like motherhood. Fatherhood is a full-time job, and it never ends, just like motherhood. You would be a father to a 2-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 22-year-old, a 32-year-old, a 42-year-old. You're still their father. Your role may change at different stages of your child's life, but you're still their father. So to all the fathers out there who are weathering and fighting and trying to make sure their kids are well taken care of and that they are there for them, I want to say happy Father's Day. All right? Happy Father's Day. And may God bless you and continue to be the father that you need to be to keep your family strong. All right? But first and foremost, I want to get right into it. And as I said, we talked a bit about Black history because you know, you know me. I love telling my people about Black history, and that's a beautiful thing because the more we know about our history, we'll have a better understanding of ourselves. Okay? It's very important to understand your history. And as a Black man, we must do that. So I'm going to start out with Juneteenth because today's a national federal holiday. Juneteenth. All right. And I'm going to give you some of the historical background behind Juneteenth. But before I go into that, I'm sorry, brothers and sisters. I have to say this before, and it hurts my heart, but I have to say this. And I want to say my condolences. Excuse my not saying this, one of the first things. My condolences to a family called the Wiley family, and they're the family of Cohen Weiland. Now, who was he, Brother Ram? Cohen Weiland. Well, Cohen Wiley. And he was a 1 year old, get this, a 1 year old black child, black boy, shot and killed by uh, the Senatobia, Mississippi police. And another adult was critically wounded as they as the police shot at a moving car. When they shot at the moving car, they claim was trying to run them over. When they shot at the moving car, they critically wounded an adult and killed little Cohen Wiley. Okay, so my condolences to his family, and it's a sad, sad thing that this has occurred. But I must mention that, and our prayers and thoughts go out to his family because it's a young black life taken already, and he's only one. He was only 1 year old. So my brothers and sisters, please, please understand that we must be able to deal with this thing and understand this situation about the 3/5 clause in America. Remember Colin Wiley, remember Tamir Rice. Within 10, 11 seconds of coming up on Tamir, the police blew him away. 11-year-old black child, because you're not considered human. But I'll talk about that later. Um, Again, as always, I want to say something about the Epstein victims. Again, I ask you to keep fighting, stick together, never, ever, ever give up. Pray to the true and living God, because he's on your side and he's on scene today. He's on your side. All right? He hopes, he hears your prayers, brothers, sisters. He hears your prayers. So be patient, for you shall see justice. Be patient, for you shall see justice, brothers and sisters. Especially those victims of that Epstein thing. This is all a distraction. But remember, the race ain't to the swiftest, it's to the one who can endure to the end. And God is testing you and testing your patience, but he shall reward you. Next is to my Native American brothers. I like to always say this because we need you more than ever to come around and speak out against this American deportation policy about illegal immigrants. How dare you talk about an illegal immigrant? And as I've said over and over again, how could you be an illegal immigrant on stolen land? This land was stolen. Every last Caucasian that's on this land is a descendant of an immigrant. And you can take that or let it alone, but that's a historical fact. That's a historical fact. So I mention these things consistently with my podcast because I'm letting them know I'm supporting you, Epstein victims. I'm supporting you, my Native American brothers, because you have a lot to say about this immigration issue. Because our Caucasian brothers have got this distorted, thinking that this was his land. He stole the land. And that's a historical fact. So I just wanted to put that out there. Again, condolences to Cohen Wiley, 1-year-old young black child. Pitiful, shame. But one day, there will come a time when we don't have to have that worry no more. All right? But you got to believe in him, because he's the one. He's the man that's going to control it all. But again, I'm going back to my black history, of course. And I'm talking about first Juneteenth. I'm going to give you the origins of Juneteenth. And what does Juneteenth do? Because it's a federal holiday today. And it commemorates June 19th, 1865. June 19th, 1865. When Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation. They were there to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation, but pay attention to the dates. They arrived in Galveston, Texas in June 19th, 1865. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed by Lincoln in January of 1863. Whoa, wait a minute. Look at the time period. January of 1863 and June of 1865, the slaves were finally getting, what's that about, Brother Rams? And the Emancipation Proclamation declared that all enslaved people in the Confederate States were legally free. They were legally free. That's what the Emancipation Proclamation declared in January of 1863. The Civil War ended in April of 1865. This is history. 2 months later, on June 19th, 1865, that's 2.5 years later, after the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed, Union Major General Gordon Granger, historical note, he's a Union general. He's a major general. That means he's over a general. He's a major general. Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and read, here's the key piece, brothers and sisters, the law. General Order Number 3. What's General Order Number 3? He read it to the people, officially announcing the emancipation of all enslaved people in Texas. He said slavery's over, been over for 2.5 years. You know, them people in Texas, rough peoples, baby, I'm telling you. They believe in that old slavery thing. But let's tell the truth about Texas. Texas was really Mexico. Go check out the history. Texas was really Mexico before it became Texas. And then I got to right now take my hat off, tip my hat to two people in Texas. Because, man, they fighting like dogs down there fighting them rednecks. And that's my sister Jasmine Crockett, as I call her my black queen, because she's standing on the shoulders of them black queens. She's a lawyer, you know. So you know when that knucklehead we got in the White House, she low IQ. She'll spin circles around him, as she's done so many in the House who've tried to challenge my sister Queen, Jasmine Crockett. You keep fighting down there in Texas. And then I got to add my brother. He go to the State of the Union addresses and he put up a fuss, that brother there. Love you, baby. His name is Al Green. Keep supporting him too. And I'm gonna tell you someone else to support. Even though he beat Jasmine fair and square, no crookedness. That guy, the new guy, Talarico, something like that it goes. He got a message. He trying to bring the peoples together. Get behind him. He's a Democrat. I'm not saying I love Democrats, but he's better than them rednecks down there. But you talking about some people who they kept slavery going for 2.5 years after the black man was free, supposedly free. So please, this General Granger, he freed over 250,000 slaves down there. Just imagine, 250,000 slaves were still slaves, even though the government has said you're free. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, brothers and sisters. But he went down there and freed them. All right? By using what? General Order Number 3. That's the federal law. That lets the black peoples go. It lets the black people go. Because they should have been gone. Think how much money that all them Texas farmers and all them people who own slaves, how much money they made in 2.5 years for free labor. Can you imagine how, if you had a business, if you could work your labor force for 2.5 years without paying them, or just putting little raggedy burlap clothes on them and feeding them swine and poor quality food just to keep them alive so you can make money off their labor? You think about that. How rich could you get? But now I got to give you some more black history. And it's ironic that it now opens officially today. And I'm talking to you about my brother and his beautiful queen wife. And that is former President Barack Obama. See, yesterday he opened up the Obama Presidential Center. That's historical, brothers and sisters. We ain't no other black president. Man, that brother's sharp, and his beautiful queen wife. You hear me? This presidential center cost $850 million. It's now located on 19.3 acres of land. And it consists of a museum and community campus located in the historic Jackson Park section of Chicago. That's the South Side. He said he want to be around my peoples. That's where he came up from, South Side, Barack. Class, dignity, grace. His wife, class, dignity, grace. You know, right now, over the last 50 years, he's been the most popular president out of all of them. More popular than, guess what? He's at like a 50% approval rating. Only one close is Clinton. He's at a 1% approval rating, a 1 plus in the positive. Barack's 50 plus, and then everybody goes down from there. Trump, 34. Biden, 36. Negative. See, y'all don't know Barack was a hell of a president, and you're not gonna know. And what got me, I'm gonna be honest with you, brother, it's about a little tear to my eye too, when this woman, the great queen, Michelle Obama, stood up there talking about her man. It reminded me of Akhenaton and Nefertiti. What, brother? Yeah, man. That sister Nefertiti, see, you all know for her beauty. But she was sharp as a tack, man. She was a diplomat. And she stood up for her man. You go talking trash about him, you gonna deal with me. Nefertiti, Black Queen. And when Michelle Obama got up there yesterday talking, and she talking about her husband's accomplishments, and they flashed to the president, and you see his head go down a little bit, and you see the tears come kind of well up in his eyes. What he faced as a black man, still facing all kind of foolishness. As the first black president of the United States, showed so much dignity, so much calm. Kept his cool, didn't cuss people out. Understood the office of the presidency. Unlike this fella we got in there now, cussing people out, calling women names, dividing the country. Nowhere near Barack Obama and Michelle. And as some people believe, he's fixated on Barack. He fixated on Barack. And the Iran deal that he done so-called made, and I'll talk about that later. He claims, the Iranians, they laughed at Barack. They called him a stupid son of a twitch. And you know the word I really mean. They didn't call him no such thing. They loved Obama because he was a black man. I say it, damn it. He was a black man. Head of the United States? Wait a minute, we're going to talk with you. Because Obama reached out to them first. Said, look, you can't enrich that uranium, and no, we got to work something out, baby. We got to work something out because this don't make sense. This doesn't make sense at all. This is a move. This is a moment in Black history, brothers and sisters. It's split into 5 areas. They have a museum. That's where you're going to pay a little fee. It's all right. You waste money on all foolishness. Damn it, learn something about yourself. You're always spending money foolishly. Come learn about the first black president of the United States. But it's split into 5 pieces. First, there's a museum, and it has interactive exhibits. The second piece, it has a forum. It's for community gathering space. You know, we got to gather. You know how people to plot strategy, and he thought about that too, because that's historical, how we gather and make plans to advance our people. So we got to have a gathering place. It has a library, a modern Chicago public library. It has a get this. This is my brother. That's we got to put a little black in this, you know, and I love it because that's what makes us unique. And and always be proud of your uniqueness and your greatness, black man and woman. You don't have to apologize for none of that. You don't have to hold your head down and well, I really didn't mean scratching and grinning. Be proud of who you are. And one of the things is he got a home court. Now, what's that, brother? He has an authentic. Oh, excuse me. It's a home court, but it's for athletic and leadership center. It's called the home court, but it's for athletic and leadership center. But it features an NBA regulation size basketball court. Go ahead, my brother. He said just in case. And then the 5th one, the outdoor spaces. And they have acres of public green, and they also have a fruit and vegetable garden. Because remember, Michelle's thing was for Americans to eat healthy. Never mind no RFK Jr. Don't mind him. He ain't about nothing serious. He ain't worried about the health of America. And I'm going to just take a little teeny side step here for a second. Because of his record on vaccinations making them optional. And we talk about DEI and people not qualified. Remember I told you, Hegseth isn't qualified either. Just recent, I want you to pay this attention because it affects the military. This is how this dodo is. Ain't got sense, like my grandmama used to say, ain't got sense to pull piss out of a boot. He now says, well, it's not mandatory that you have to take a vaccine in the military. It's on a volunteer basis. Guess what? There's 160 cases of flu breaking out on this military base here in America. 160 cases of the flu raging through the population. See, the rule used to be you had to take the vaccination. It was required. Doesn't it make sense? We can't have you not vaccinated and all of a sudden we fight no enemy and you get sick and get all the rest of the damn troops sick too. That weakens our national security, you nitwit Hegseth. But again, you're not qualified. You are not qualified. So I had to bring that up because I saw that today and I said, and I have a thing for the military because my family's been in the military. So, you just can't say, oh, they don't have to take the vaccine, and then everybody gets sick and wind up messing everything up. Can't do it. But right now, we're going to get into the political sauce. And one of the things I want to talk about is what this podcast is about. And this podcast basically says and you're going to see it anyway, it's going to be called President Trump's Iranian War. Has America surrendered? Has America surrendered? And we're going to get into the political sauce. And one of the big things that has come up with now, Donald Trump has come up with a plan a plan to stop this war. But first, we got to look back at why the war was started. The war was started because uh, America and Israel decided to bomb Iran. But let's go back. Obama nuclear agreement with Iran. And brothers and sisters, I'm passing out information. I've had this on my other podcasts, but I'm gonna reiterate it. Of course, as a teacher, we practice and we repeat. We practice and repeat to start that learning process. And it's known as the JCPOA. You hear that, brothers and sisters? What's the JCPOA? And I told you it's the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA. That's what this a piece of legislature was about, on how to deal with Iran. And what did that mean? It was a 2015 multicultural attempt. Excuse me, I'm sorry, a 2015 multilateral agreement aimed at preventing Iran. Listen, this is in 2015, aimed at preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon in exchange for strict, verifiable limits on its nuclear infrastructure. We're trying to limit you trying to get a nuclear way back in 2015. Iran would receive phased relief from international sanctions. Okay? The world had put economic sanctions on Iran. And the JCPOA, that's what you hear it called. So, my brothers and sisters, it's called JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And it was signed by Iran and the P5+1. I've mentioned this in my other podcast, but I got to, again, we're going to repeat and we're going to practice and repeat, and then we're going to practice. It was signed by Iran and the P5+1. Who are the P5+1? I'm going to name them down, lay them down for you, brothers and sisters. The first one was, of course, the U.S. Iran was already there. Iran, U.S., U.K. Look who's on it. China, France, Russia. And part of the plus one is really two countries. It's Germany and the European Union. That's damn near everybody of anybody. That's damn near everybody of anybody. So that's important to understand, my brothers and sisters. It was signed by these countries. They had the allies with them, Russia and China. They had the European Union. They had UK. They had Germany. They had all of them in there, brothers and sisters. That's important to understand. And in 2012, that's when it all started, by Obama, black man, reaching out to them, to the Iranian people, and said, baby, we got to get something done about this nuclear thing. Because I'm getting a bug in my ear from Israel about this bug, your potential having a nuclear weapon. So let's put something together. But one country you notice that ain't on the P5+1 is Israel. You can take that or let it alone, but that's a fact. All right? So in January 16th, 2016, that's when the plan was implemented. That's when the plan was implemented. And that's important for you to understand, brothers and sisters. Okay? Again, we're talking about uh, 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 the JCPOA. And right now I'm going to talk about the difference between his Iran deal, Obama's, and Trump's New Deal. First and foremost, it took 20 months. All right? Who's involved with the JCPOA? Again, it was involved the P5+1. I'm giving you the contrast here, the difference between his plan, the JCPOA, and Trump's plan. Okay? So Trump, first of all, who was involved? It would also involve the P5+1. That's all our allies. And it was extremely detailed. There was no, ambiguity there. Trump's agreement is based on this thing called a MOU. It's based on the MOU. What's that? The MOU is called a Memorandum of Understanding. MOU. But who's involved with that? It's an agreement between Washington and Tehran, just two entities, Washington and Tehran, and addresses the conflict that began with the U.S. Israel attack on Iran in February. So it starts right there. Okay? Let's look at Iran's nuclear program as a second difference. First, it was who's involved. Second of all, let's look at their nuclear program. The JCPOA is a comprehensive, get this, is a comprehensive plan to address Iranian nuclear ambitions and to ensure the country's program was exclusively peaceful. You can develop a weapon, but not a weapon of mass destruction. Like if you want to develop nuclear power to the point where you could, make to power cruise ships or boats or stuff like that, or power plants, period. Sure, as long as it's exclusively peaceful. Okay? It was 18 pages long, brothers and sisters, accompanied, that not just that, by dozens of pages of additional details about specific elements of the nuclear program. They got down to the nitty gritty, brother. They weren't playing. They left no stone unturned. It was very extensive. And guess who championed it? Guess who was right there running it for my brother Obama? Secretary of State John Kerry and a host of others. And some of them included scientists, nuclear scientists. Oh man, they put together a dream team of people before they came up with this. That's why it took 20 months. That's why it took 20 months. But Trump's current MOU is only, his MOU is only 14 paragraphs long. Not 18 pages plus, it's 14 paragraphs long. In other words, they slapped some stuff together. Big, big mistake. His program, it states that Iran's commitment to not having a nuclear weapon. But guess what? It is making Iran's commitment to not having it, but leaves all details to further negotiations, like monitoring. That has something to do with it. Monitoring, enrichment of the uranium, the amount of centrifuges that you could have. That's all in the about in the JCPOA. So they have 60 days to work something out. When this took 20 months to work out, Obama's deal, they have 60 days. They didn't have nothing talking about monitoring. Nothing. when it comes to sanctions relief for Iran. The JCPOA allowed Iran to receive $1.7 billion from revenue held by the U.S. And at the time, those Republicans jumped all over our brother. Oh, he giving them money. He don't know what he's doing. 1.7 billion to a terrorist group, terrorist country. 1.7, terrible. Screaming at the top of their lungs. It was their money. How you going to negotiate with someone? Negotiate means you get something, you give something. How are we going to negotiate if you don't give something? But watch the contradiction I'm about to tell you right now. Here's the contradiction, because this is what this is all about, contradiction. But Trump's plan gives Iran $24 billion from revenue held by the U.S. due to sanctions. He gonna give them $24 billion. And that's before anything's worked out in 60 days. He's giving them $24 billion. Not a joke, baby. The JCPOA plan tied sanction relief for Iran to specific goals related to its nuclear program. In other words, that money is tied to your programs. You do X, then we release some more money. But see, in the Trump's program, they haven't done X yet. They haven't done X yet. But you're giving them $24 billion. Trump saying, yeah, they went over there with tons of money and they just was, giving pallets of money. Those are lies. Those are lies. All right? In the current agreement, the U.S. is explicitly committing to terminate all sanctions. They're going to terminate all sanctions. Whoa, baby. You got to tie something in with the sanction. He said, eliminate them all. And I'll tell you what that's going to mean when you eliminate them all against Iran. They had an agreed upon schedule. As part of the final deal. The JCPOA, meanwhile, was the final agreement. See, they haven't reached their final agreement. They got 60 days to now put in the rest of the details. Not going to happen. Many people don't think it's going to happen because it's too short a period of time. And I have a sneaky feeling that Iran's going to make them drag it out. Other financial relief. The current agreement commits the U.S. and regional partners to develop a plan for a fund for $300 billion to reconstruct Iran. Hell of a thing, brothers and sisters. Hell of a thing. That's important to understand. They got this fund. But now, remember, Trump is telling you lies right now. Oh, the American people ain't going to pay for that. No. The American people ain't going to pay for the wall in Mexico. Mexicans going to build that. Sounds similar? You broke it. You destroyed it. Remember the late, great Colin Powell? You break it, you own it. That's what this agreement is saying. That's what the Iranians understood. They said that to Trump. You got to rebuild it. You and Israel went in there and bombed them people to death like that, destroyed everything. You want to help rebuild it. 300 billion, not million, billion fund. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, brothers and sisters. But like I said, I'm getting now into the meat of this, and we're talking about the Trump's Iranian war. Has America surrendered? And I'll show you different situations that show you that we have surrendered. You might not want to believe it, but like they say, it is what it is. Okay? Now let's talk about some things, historical facts, because I stay with the facts. The fact of the matter is, these small countries have now developed a strategy against the big invading countries. They've developed a strategy. So what Trump has heralded was, we wiped out their navy, we wiped out their air force, we took away their air defense systems. We obliterated. That's his favorite word. We obliterated. We've downgraded. Blah 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 blah. The knuckleheads, you don't understand. See, your military generals understood, but you don't understand. And I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. You didn't understand. You didn't understand that at all. They know they ain't got a chance against you when it comes to who got the biggest ships and the most airplanes. There's hands down, it's America, baby. But they don't use that type of warfare against the big invading giant. Let me pull your coat to something in the Bible you may have heard about. You ever heard this parable in the Bible about David and Goliath? The big ogre, the big bruiser, and the little old David wound up conquering him. How? Because of God's will. That's the real reason behind it. That even though it may seem that they're small, they're bigger than you think. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But let's go back to, like I said, Trump's surrender. He got involved in a war with Iran without congressional approval. First mistake. They have the War Powers Act. That means you have to present your case before Congress, before they approve of it. That's the War Powers Act in essence. You have to come to the Congress and present your case. He didn't. He just went ahead and went to war. And look where we're at now. Unchecked. All right? And again, he joined forces with Israel to attack Iran. He had no clear-cut military or post-war objectives. That's the whole point. He just jumped into the war. But he didn't have no military objectives. He didn't even have the post-war objectives, which are really more important than the military. Because guess what? We expect you to knock out some of the basic things you think, but it's not happening. He had no clear-cut post-war objective for Iran. None whatsoever. He clearly didn't have no exit strategy. What's going to be his exit strategy? In the end, it has turned to be throw your hands up and go home. Accept a piece of a deal and get out of there. That's the real story, but I'll continue. No previous Republican or Democratic president got involved with Iran on a military basis. None of them. You know why they didn't get involved? They didn't get involved because their military leaders told them it would be a political quagmire. It'd be the equivalent of going into Vietnam again. See, their military generals explained to them that by doing so, that if you go to war with Iran, by doing so, it would cause several problems. See, because the president, he's not a military man, and especially this one. So the military advisors said, okay, if we go to war, this will happen. Because we've played war games as an exercise to see the pros, the cons, what they might do, what they might not do, which is good strategy. All right? But one of the problems, they all said, every general who worked for the Republican or Democratic president said this. Like all of a sudden, Trump didn't know this or wasn't giving this information. That Iran would shut down the Strait of Hormuz. It would shut down the Strait of Hormuz right off the rip, which then would make our military bases and our allies in the region would be placed in immediate danger. They knew that. They said, don't get into no war with them because that would subject our allies and our military personnel in that area to be subject to danger. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a problem. Very big problem. Our military bases, like I said, and our allies will be placed in grave danger. If Iran uh, uh, um, if Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, the effect would be a catastrophic. Listen to what he said. Listen to what I'm saying. If they block the Strait of Hormuz, which they did, would have a catastrophic effect on the global economy and could set off worldwide recession. They were practicing. They already knew this what would happen, damn it. That's why they never did it. The military leaders all warned each of these each Republican and Democratic president about going into Iran on a military type of situation. President Trump had military leaders too. They weren't no Johnny come lately. They were top-notch officials. Trump's military leaders also knew of the negative consequences of getting into a war with Iran. But the difference is Trump's Secretary of Defense, I don't know what he called himself. Called Secretary of War, he ain't that. Trump's Secretary of Defense, he fired most of the top experienced military leaders. He fired them. Except he fired them. And that's crazy. He fired most of the top military leaders, brothers and sisters. And I'm going to give you the list. Because I know y'all say, oh, Brother Rams, you sure? Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Let me run down the list for you, baby. First one is John Phelan. He was the Secretary of the Navy. Gone. General Randy George, Army Chief of Staff. He was forced to retire. My man, C.Q. Brown, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. 4-star general, replaced by a 3-star Dan Raising Cane. You kidding me? These are experienced military leaders. And this is one that also pissed me off. Admiral Lisa Fernetti. Admiral Lisa Fernetti, Chief of Naval Operations. She was the Chief of Naval Operations, damn it. A woman. Well, she DEI, and he fired her along with C.Q. Brown. That's the sister I'm talking to you about. When C.Q. Brown got cut loose, that was the woman who got cut loose. Damn shame. Damn shame. These are experienced people. They know about war. So now he's got people at the top have no experience but nothing but lapdogs and yes men and sycophants. As military leaders, that's a kiss of death because you got to speak truth to the president. By firing all them, that all these top experienced leaders, it left the president with no real experience at the top of his military. And thus, he had no clear-cut exit strategy. There was no clear-cut exit strategy for them, brother. Because the experienced leaders would have said, this is how we get out of this. But they were so scared because they saw everybody else got cut loose or forced to retire. Hell, they said, no way, man. Let him do his thing. Let him and Hexeth. Hexeth only went as far as being a major. How the hell you going to be a major and command Navy after Navy? So now my question becomes, what did we get from Iran in this deal? Let's look at this deal. You hear me? Let's look at this deal. All right? First, let's look at what my daddy would say are the objective facts. You gotta look at facts first, because facts that you can get mad at them, but you can't dispute them. Let's look at us before the war. The Strait of Hormuz was wide open for oil tankers, shipping goods, and it moved freely. Ships moved freely through the strait, excuse me. They moved freely. The Strait of Hormuz, before this war, was already open. Inflation, before the war, objective facts, was 1.7%. It stands right now at 4.2%, the highest it's been in 4 years. The highest it's been in 4 years, brothers and sisters. Gasoline's national average was $2.99 before the war. Now it's $4 since the agreement because the price of oil is dropping. But you're not going to feel much of the effect at the pump for a while, for months. And that, guess what that brings us to? It brings us into the midterms. Gasoline prices. So what does that then affect? Travel, driving, flying, riding by train. A lot of our goods are trucked from place to place, not just shipped. When they get off the ships, they still got to be trucked. The trucks require diesel fuel. Diesel fuel is still high. Diesel fuel is still high, brothers and sisters. Can't get supplies. Ships just sitting out in the water. That was before the war. I mean, excuse me, that wasn't before the war. The ships were flowing back and forth. Now they've stopped. Now, after the war, what has happened? What has happened to America after war has begun. 13 U.S. soldiers killed. Hundreds and hundreds of wounded U.S. soldiers, some severely. 3,300 Iranians killed. 37 Lebanese killed. The war itself has cost Americans between $30 and $50 billion. Yet, millions of Americans are now without health care. That the money they used for this foolishness could have been used to help millions of Americans with their health care. The rising price of oil has had a devastating effect on the world energy market. Here in America, we do not import oil. We're able to have our own oil. But other countries, we don't import oil from other countries. Our oil prices, though, are set by the world market, not by us. Even though we don't import no oil, the world market still sets the price for the price of oil. Our goods like machine parts and clothes and furniture and medicine that America imports, along with the president's tariff, has really upset American financial situation. Has upset America's financial situation. And that's what we must understand. So, affordability is a big issue for us, average Americans. Not the millionaires or the billionaires. They don't have to worry about none of that. Has become a thorn in America's side. Affordability, that's the key word. Can you afford it? Can you afford to can you afford to take that extra trip, or do you need that to pay the rent? Do I buy food or do I pay the rent? Do I buy food or do I buy gas? These are important things to ask, brothers and sisters. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what we got and what did Iran get. In this deal, we're going to take a look at what we got from Iran. See, because in the deal and agreement, both sides supposed to get some, lose some. You get a little bit, I get a little bit, I give a little bit, you give a little bit. Nothing has been achieved from this war. Let's take a look. There's been no regime change. In fact, they have not taken they now have taken a hardline stance in the region. Because remember, they killed his daddy and his peoples and mama and all of that. The Ayatollah now, he's young. He said, I'm going to take a hardline stance. You're going to pay me. And that's what you see what's happening. You're going to pay me. He does not, has not reached a deal on nuclear weapons. Remember, both sides have 60 days to work that out. So monitoring and all that other stuff, not yet. But they get to try to work it out over the next 60 days. But America seriously underestimated Iran's drone and missile capability. Remember, he kept saying, I obliterated everything. Oh, they ain't got to worry about nothing. Next, you know, they're still firing drones and missiles at the ships and at our allies in the region. That was a lie. They didn't obliterate nothing. They underestimated them. They underestimated Iran. They thought they were going to be like Venezuela, just lay down and let them come on in and take your leader. They've been fighting and playing in America for over since the late 70s. So they ready to go. They don't mind. And because they have survived, officially they've won. Because you remember, you threatened to blow them all up, send them back where they come from. You didn't do that, so you didn't accomplish nothing. See, where Trump messed up was he underestimated Iran's ability to play the long game. See, this is the long. He don't know nothing about the long game. The long game is to drag it out, right? That's a tactic used by the smaller countries against the bigger countries. It's a tactic. And that's very important to understand. Okay? One thing about Trump, it's a sharp move to drag it because Trump is impatient and he makes a lot of idle threats. They reopened the Strait of Hormuz. That's supposed to be something that we got from Iran. But the Strait of Hormuz was open anyway. But now there's going to be a problem with the Strait of Hormuz because now, after a while, they're going to charge tolls to go through the Strait of Hormuz. And that's important to understand. So now what did Iran get? Remember, first of all, they're still surviving. So that unto itself is a victory. They're now allowed to sell their Iranian oil, making between $100 to $150 million a day. Good God Almighty. They're now allowed to sell their oil, so there's no restrictions on that, no sanctions. They're going to be given $24 billion in frozen Iranian assets. Remember, Obama was 1.7. Republican was screaming holy murder. Trump's about to give them 24 billion. Before they reach any final agreements, they get 24 billion. You know how much weaponry they can buy? Got to understand that. They got a 60-day ceasefire. And that was to negotiate enrichment uranium development, sponsoring their proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon, especially since they now have money. They're gonna sponsor their what you call it, their proxy, the Hezbollah in Lebanon. You've now given them financial fuel. The long game has bore fruit because Iran has gotten America to stop bombing them. Right? They're not bombing America them now. They're not bombing them. But what they're doing is they're dragging this out toward the midterm elections, where the American people can now vote for a form of regime change. But more important, what they gave Iran, they gave them leverage. They gave them negotiating leverage because why? On the Strait of Hormuz, because now they believe they're able to dictate the terms of passage to the West. They can dictate terms of passage. You got to pay a toll. You got to pay a toll. They didn't have that before. And these are some of the lawmakers that are against this deal. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Senator Susan Collins of Maine, Senator Ted Cruz. He said, President's getting bad advice. The New York Times editorial page said President Trump has lost this war. President Trump has lost this war. And then conservative right-wing Eric Erickson has coined the phrase that the U.S. now has surrendered to Iran. And that's why I say this. That's the topic of my podcast here. That Trump's Iranian war. Has America surrendered? They have. They have. because Trump is impatient. But he had no exit strategy. So he had to take the first deal that seemed like a deal. Of course, he's making it spin like he did a great thing. The Iranians, you try to say that the Iranians called Barack stupid SOB. You sure you got the right person they called that? You sure you got the right person? Barack Obama and Michelle exhibit such grace and class. And that's a thorn in Donald Trump's side. A lot of the Republicans do not like that deal. One Republican said if he were alive, Ronald Reagan would be rolling over in his grave. Another Republican, I think it was Cassidy, but I can't say exactly. But another Republican said this, quote unquote, it was one of the worst foreign policy blunders in history. One of the worst foreign policy blunders in history. So you have to understand that, brothers and sisters. So again, I say to you, God is on scene. And I'm asking all my brothers and sisters after you listen to this podcast, go ahead and tell a friend, tell somebody about Brother Ram's podcast. Come hear the truth so how we can live together in the 21st century. So again, I thank you so much for listening, my brothers and sisters. I appreciate you. And again, spread the word and may God bless you and keep you safe. Thank you.